Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something that so many English learners run into. It's that fluency plateau. You've done the hard work. You know the grammar rules, you've got a great vocabulary, but when you speak, something just feels a little off. Well, today, we're going to dive into how we can fix that.
If you've ever had that nagging feeling that you just don't sound quite natural, then you are in exactly the right place. It's like the final hurdle, right? The difference between just knowing English and actually thinking and feeling in English. And to get you over that hurdle, we are going to break down 5 very specific areas that make all the difference. We're going to cover some common and, let's be honest, sometimes embarrassing word mix-ups. We'll get into those tricky little articles, talk about phrases that just sound right to a native ear, and finally, how to choose the perfect past tense to tell your stories. So let's jump right in.
All right, first up, words that look or sound really similar but mean completely different things. Now, making these little mistakes probably won't stop someone from understanding you, but they can be a bit distracting. They pull the listener's focus away from your awesome story, so let's clear up a few of the most common ones.
Let's start with a classic. The difference between getting more money and, well, shaving. If you want a bigger salary at your job, you ask for a raise. If you walk into your boss's office and ask for a razor, things might get a little weird. It's a really important difference, especially when it's time for your performance review.
This next one is all about the level of drama. Falling asleep, that's a normal, gentle, everyday thing. But passing out? Whoa, that's a whole different story. That's a medical situation. It's when you faint, maybe from the heat or from being sick. Mixing these two up can make your story sound way more dramatic than it actually was.
And oh, this one is just perfect. It shows how one little slip of the tongue can create a hilarious or kinda horrifying picture in someone's mind. You wake up a baby when they're sleeping. But if you say you're going to break up the baby, it sounds like the poor thing shattered into a million pieces. So yeah, let's all agree to just wake the babies up from now on.
Now this is a super common trap, especially for people whose native language handles this differently. See, in English, a hero is always the good guy. They're brave, they're admirable. But what if the story is about a villain? Or a really complicated anti-hero? Well, they can't be the main hero. The correct neutral word you're looking for is protagonist or main character. That works for anyone at the center of the story, good, bad, or somewhere in between. All right, let's move on to our second key, articles. You know, those tiny little words, a, an, the. They seem so small, but honestly, they're often the biggest giveaway that someone isn't a native speaker. Getting these right will instantly make your English sound so much more polished.
Okay, here's a quick and easy guide. You use a or an when you mention something for the very first time, or when you're classifying someone, like saying, he is a doctor. You use the when your listener knows exactly which one you're talking about, like the sun. There's only one. And then there's the zero article, which means using no article at all. We do this for big, general, abstract ideas, like saying, I love music.
Knowing when not to use an article is just as important, and this is where a ton of mistakes happen. We don't say she studies the physics. It's just she studies physics. And the same thing goes for meals, for holidays, and for months.
And this is a perfect example. If you say, we met at the Easter, it just sounds a little clunky to a native ear. The natural, correct way to say it is simply, we met at Easter. Dropping that one little word is a small change that makes a huge difference in how natural you sound. Okay, let's get to our third key, which is all about collocations. Now, that's a fancy word, but the idea is super simple. It just means words that like to hang out together. They're word partners that native speakers use all the time without even thinking about it. And when you start using them, it's like a secret handshake for fluency. A classic example is prepositions of time. I like to think of it as a pyramid. At the very top, the smallest, most precise point, we use at 9 o'clock, at noon. Then, for a bigger block of time, like a day or a date, we use on Monday, on my birthday. And for the biggest, longest periods, the wide base of the pyramid, like months, years, decades, we use in April, in 2024. At, on, in, from specific to general. Here's a great one for word choice. In English, you don't really establish or create friendships. I mean, that sounds so formal, like you're signing a peace treaty or something. We just say we make friends. It's warmer, it's more natural, and it's the right word partnership. And here it is in a sentence that I bet a lot of us can relate to.
It was hard to make friends when I first moved abroad. It just flows, right? It sounds completely natural. This is the kind of phrasing we're aiming for. Oh, and here is a fantastic, casual little phrase you should add to your vocabulary right away. Instead of always saying, I am interested in, you can say, I'm into. For example, my nephew is really into dinosaurs right now. It's just a simple swap that makes you sound way more relaxed and conversational.
All right, let's move on to key number 4, mastering the past tense. And listen, this isn't just about passing a grammar test. This is about being a good storyteller. When you choose the right past tense, you make sure your listener can follow your story without getting confused about when things happened.
So we're going to focus on 4 really important tools for talking about the past. We've got used to for old habits that are over now. We have the past simple for actions that are completely finished. We have the past perfect to show the order of events. And believe it or not, we even use the present simple to talk about traditions.
So, what's the real difference here? Well, if you say she used to live in Osaka, that tells a little story. It implies that she doesn't live there anymore. But if you say she lived in Osaka in 2010, that's just a simple fact about a completed time in the past. One suggests a change over time, the other just states a fact.
Okay, the past perfect. I know this one can feel a little tricky, but its job is actually really simple. Just think of it as the earlier past. You use it when you're talking about 2 things that happened in the past, and you need to make it crystal clear which one happened first.
This example makes it so obvious. 2 things happened in the past. 1, we got to the station. 2, the train left. So which one happened first? The train leaving. And the past perfect had already left organizes that timeline perfectly for your listener. No confusion. It's such a powerful tool for clear storytelling.
And that brings us to our 5th and final key. And this is less of a grammar rule and more of a whole new mindset. This is about moving beyond just memorizing rules and really changing the way you approach speaking English in the first place.
Because this is the ultimate goal, isn't it? Real fluency isn't about getting faster and faster at translating from your native language in your head. It's about getting to the point where your thoughts actually form in English. It means you've internalized all these little patterns and rhythms that we've been talking about today.
So, this is the magic question. I want you to start asking this to yourself. Before you say a phrase, just take a half second and ask, am I using this because it's a natural English phrase, or am I just saying a word-for-word translation from my own language? Making this a habit is how you build that gut feeling, that intuition for what sounds right.
So we've covered 5 really important areas to help you sound more natural and break through that plateau. But just listening isn't enough. You have to apply it. So think about it. What's one thing you're going to focus on? Will you pay extra attention to articles this week? Are you going to try to use be into in a conversation? What's the one small, simple change you can promise yourself you'll start today?